Campers, it's me, Ari Lehman, the first Jason Voorhees. From Friday the 13th, I'm here with AJ, and he's got the juiciest slice ready for you. It's dripping with blood. Jason never dies.
What makes a horror film kill memorable, terrific, even in some way profound or poignant? Let's explore. Thanks for checking this out. If anything about it trips your fancy, please like, subscribe, and share.
Oh, yes.
Without further ado,
어떡할까요?
관련 종목 뽑아서 전부 던져.
전부 다요? 그러면 좀 파장이 있을 텐데요.
buy, sell, make that money.
시장 안정성이란 것도 있고 아무래도 개미들 입장에선 좀...
김대리.
예.
Who cares if it comes at a cost to others, maybe all of society, as some sort of infection ravages the country. Fortune favors the bold and all that.
너 개미 입장까지 생각하면서 일하냐? 전부 매도해 지금 바로.
Seok-woo is a booming funds manager, a mover and a shaker, willing to brown nose.
아닙니다. 아직 미천한 실력인데요.
But it's obvious the only opinion he truly values is his own. He drives a brand new Audi.
야, 소송을 걸든 뭘 하든 네 마음대로 해봐. 수환이 내가 키워.
And whatever smuts might be besmirching its pristine surface is far more important than his current conversation.
당신이 무슨 애를 키워? 가끔 수환이랑 얘기는 해?
Since that concerns something so mundane as his daughter's feelings.
내일 애 생일인 거는 아는 거지?
알아.
With no wife, Seok-woo's mother keeps his home and seems a little resentful of his daughter Soo-won's desire to isolate herself.
수환이냐?
저녁 먹고 지방에 있다.
Is it any wonder that Soo-won, a barely remembered shard of a broken home, wants to be with the glaring missing piece, her mom, who I'm guessing gave her a lot more positive attention and acted as a proper role model, evidenced by the little girl's polite manner? Having asked a subordinate what kids are into nowadays, Seok-woo figures a last-minute pricey gift will clear the air and get him out of escorting his daughter to Busan, and the gift falls flat.
마음에 안 들어?
Since she already received a Wii for Children's Day. What a cool holiday, but what a huge oversight to be so disconnected from his youngster he doesn't know she already received such an extravagant gift. No matter what, Soo-won is intent on going to Busan and isn't as ignorant as her father about the worth of assertions given in bad faith.
맨날 다음이라고만 하고 또 거짓말이잖아요.
Even if he has the best of intentions, always allowing other matters to intervene creates a track record kids recognize. Soo-won is probably a little too young to take the train all by herself, but she insists it's fine because she has no knowledge of her own incredible value.
아빠 시간 안 뺏을게요. 혼자 갈 수 있어요.
Heartbreaking, she doesn't seem to believe her father cares about her at all. Seok-woo watches footage of Soo-won performing at school and is disappointed to see her lose her nerve and deflate into silence. And decides he will escort her to Busan. After implying he has a godlike ability to spy on her, he confronts her for flubbing her performance. You know, because he can't boast about her to his colleagues when she fails, and needs her to do better in the future to save face.
모든 일이 그래. 시작하면 중간에 포기하면 안 되는 거야.
But his authority seems highly dubious when his lack of observance nearly gets them obliterated.
그건 안 한 것만 못하는 거야.
The father and daughter board the train to Busan, and of course, since business never waits, Seok-woo is on the phone.
새벽부터 전화가 너무 와서요. 만상공단 쪽에서 밤사이 시위가 있었나 봐요.
Seems Seok-woo's company has some cause and effect blame in what's happening.
일단 관련 정보 취합해보고 출근하면 연관 정보부터 추려놔. 점심 전에 들어갈 것 같으니까.
네.
He won't be back before lunch, because elsewhere an infected woman breached the train and seemingly died, meaning she's not a threat. Only that's not at all the case. And soon she's spreading the infection. Rampantly. These zombies turn fast, are fast, and are very determined in their pursuit of attacking and infecting others. They are grotesque and ambulatory in a different, more energetic, frenetic way. Like berserk rabid creatures, and through their increased mobility, they achieve an ability to terrify in a way Romero zombies never will. Sorry, George. Plotters in numbers will always be scary. But these zombies will run you down even faster than Dan O'Bannon's Return of the Living Dead zombies, although they aren't as smart. Seok-woo witnesses the rapid transmission, and his only concern is Suin, and vice versa. Making no friends in the pursuit of survival.
너네 저쪽으로 한 던져버리라니까 일로 와.
그만해. 다들 겁나니까 그런 거야.
The way Seok-woo takes little umbrage with threats makes me suspect his self-centered approach to life often elicits such responses from strangers. But he'll have to learn that it's in cooperation that the odds of survival increase. In a crisis, a person's true mettle, their merit, their actual level of integrity is exposed. While some are willing to trample anyone to preserve their own life, others recognize the utility of banding together, and Seok-woo will be one of those after learning the futility of going it alone, a lesson some never learn.
무슨 관제실 탐형이야 지금. 사람인지 뭔지 모를 것들이 미쳐서 날뛰고 있는데 무조건 초련역에 세워요. 알았어?
This is business executive entitled Yeon-suk, who will prove more than willing to sacrifice anyone to preserve his own life. His selfishness repeatedly rears its ugly head, and he will play a prominent role throughout. Seok-woo begins to learn of the effects of his own selfishness on a call with his exasperated mother.
그렇게 예뻐한데 지 엄마만 찾는 우리 새끼.
Audio clues tell us she's been infected, is turning, and she's spiteful.
썩을 놈들은.
I want to believe that was directed at Nae-young, Seok-woo's ex-wife, but it might have been directed at Suin for her unwavering devotion to her mother. With the devastating extent of the zombie plague revealed, the engineer proceeds non-stop through the next station. Suin proves her humanity isn't suspended just because of disaster, and offers up her seat.
네, 감사합니다.
그놈 참 멋있네.
Seok-woo sees a problem with her compassion.
수아나, 이럴 때 안 그래도 돼.
뭐요?
양도 말이야.
She recognizes there's a flaw in his makeup.
지금 같은 때는 자기 자신이 제일 우선이야. 알았어? 대답해.
And engages him no further, only commenting her grandma's knees would hurt.
친아빠?
네.
숨어줘.
Suin's friendliness extends to the couple they encountered when first under zombie attack, tough as nails no-nonsense Sang-hwa, and his pregnant wife, the able Song Kyung.
아빠 뭐하는 사람인데?
증권사 펀드 매니저요.
아, 펀드 매니저?
네.
Sang-hwa has choice words, specifically bloodsucker and leech,
괜찮아요. 다들 그렇게 다 생각하시니까.
When the train reaches the next station, the passengers disembark only for Seok-woo to separate Suwon from the others, having used his connections to garner preferential treatment, which she doesn't understand, feeling the others deserve the same consideration, only for him to shut her down.
신경 쓰지 마. 그냥 각자 알아서 하는 거야.
reiterating they need to only look out for themselves.
아빠는 자기밖에 몰라.
Here's another of those incoming gut punches of truth.
그러니까 엄마도 떠난 거잖아요.
The other passengers, instead of help, come upon a zombie horde. After his gambit to gain separate rescue goes awry, Suan ends up in the path of a rampaging zombie. Only to be rescued in the last instant by Sang-hwa. The courageous man is a bit of a bruiser in all the right ways, and his valor is reflected in the woman he loves. When Song-kyung facilitates the little girl's escape, the father and daughter might be separated, but she's incapable carrying hands, and in a situation like this, that means the world. After those who survive the massive zombie attack reboard the train any way they are able, Seok-woo finds himself in a train car with the heroic Sang-hwa and a young baseball player named Yong-guk. Since each has someone with whom to reunite, the trio teams up.
내가 선두. 가운데 너. 그 뒤에 너.
To fight their way to their loved ones. First reuniting with Song-kyung and Suan before making their way to the front of the train, where the other survivors lock them out, leading to infected Sang-hwa sacrificing himself to buy the others time to advance.
오지 마, 저기요. 가. 가야 돼.
Their eyes striking deals, the two men enter into an unwritten contract. Seok-woo won't forsake Seong-kyung and their unborn baby.
야, 쟤좀 데리고 빨리 가. 너 가, 이 새끼야, 빨리. 가, 이 새끼야, 빨리.
Those left alive are quickly cast out because Seok-woo dares to call out Yeon-suk's abominable inhumanity.
이 새끼 감염됐어! 이 새끼 감염됐어! 이 새끼 감염됐다고!
A real hurry up and wait situation. In a moment of downtime, Seok-woo makes a pledge.
걱정하지 마. 아빠가 엄마한테 꼭 데려다 줄게.
Suan explains how scared she was she'd never see him again, and admits she practiced her song just for him, and there was a reason she couldn't sing.
아빠가 안 보여서. 그래서 못 불렀어요.
With obstacles and impediments aplenty, the whittled down survivor group eventually needs to transfer to a lone train engine. The engineer makes a fatal flaw by showing humanity to irredeemable Yeon-suk and dies appallingly. If a coward dies 1,000 deaths, Yeon-suk had to die at least 100 times over the course of the film. But his ruthlessness gets him on the departing engine operating on its own. With such a huge horde of intensely motivated zombies hot on their heels, the creatures buy the fleeing trio time by tripping each other up. Seok-woo makes sure his daughter and Song-kyung are on board before boarding himself, and dislodging what rapidly becomes an insane assemblage of clawing and climbing zombies. Of course, dastardly Yeon-suk is on the engine, but instead of locking them out, as he might have earlier, solicits help. Suddenly emotional, completely out of character, maybe a look at the degeneration the brain undergoes while turning, he gives insight into his motives. He also has someone he's trying to reach.
엄마가 계속 기다려요.
A mistake, Seok-woo informs him of the truth.
감염됐어.
And there's only a few brief seconds of denial before the change takes him. Why was being truthful a mistake? It would have served the jerk right if Seok-woo pretended to help, guided him back towards the engineer's compartment, and as soon as his back was turned to head that way, chucked him off the train like railroad bulls of old sent hobos flying. Savage? Cold-blooded? Maybe. But because Seok-woo shows mercy, he has to battle a rampaging zombie. It wasn't like Yeon-suk was decent enough to do anything to help anyone else, so of course he would prefer to turn into a hazard rather than do the honorable thing and remove himself from the equation. It would be a lie to say that Yeon-suk's failure to survive doesn't inspire at least a little schadenfreude. It just would have been nice if he didn't let himself morph into an even bigger threat, with no choice other than to fight the Yeon-suk zombie on a speeding locomotive. When Seok-woo's lack of combat skills ends with him in a vulnerable position, a woman of unwavering honor, Song-hyung comes to his defense. Seok-woo springs to protect her and Suin, and in his zeal makes a lethal error. Able to fling the Yeon-suk zombie off the train, without jettisoning himself in the process. The writing is on the wall, and Seok-woo wastes no time, putting Suin in a seat and looking to Song-hyung to see things through.
아무래도 이게 브레이크 같아요. 안전한 데가 나오면 이걸 다 끼우면 돼요. 알았죠?
In this moment, he makes the same unwritten agreement with her Sang-hwa made with him, and then he goes to his daughter for the last time.
아빠. 손아, 아빠 말 들어.
Practical matters need to be addressed. Time's running out.
아줌마 옆에 끝까지 꼭 붙어 있어야 돼. 알았지?
But Suin doesn't care about that at all.
가지마! 가지마! 내가 잘못했어.
Her sorrow breaks him.
나랑 같이 있어. 가지마.
He knows his time is up. He must go. Even if it breaks her heart completely. The crushing weight of the calamity that has befallen him crashes down. For alienating and chasing away his wife, for disregarding and sequestering his daughter. All of it is his fault, because he failed to strike the right balance between career and family, and repelled those most important to him. So when the big one hit, the hypothetical civilization ender normies fear and weirdos covet, their family unit was split apart. With what little time he has before his mind is gone, he recollects Suin as an infant. Choosing at the end to relive what has to be the happiest moment of his life. If it wasn't before, it is now. And his dying act of letting go. I'm not crying, you're crying! Spares her any threat he might present. Having faced the music and accepted all of the sour notes among the sweet ones, he dies an eminently better person than he lived as, having discovered too late what it means to be a proper parent, a proper man, a proper person. Song-hyung and Suin reach the tunnel leading into Busan and have to make the last of the journey on foot. Soldiers waiting on the other side get a bead on the pair, and the order to shoot is given. Anyone who has seen Night of the Living Dead.
Hit him in the head, right between the eyes. Good shot. Okay, he's dead. Let's go get him. That's another one for the fire.
Knows that authorities often take no chances. But in this case, they get a clue they haven't turned. When an exit achieves pinnacle status, meaning it falls firmly on the side of poignant and profound, and attains deeper meaning, giving weighty insight into the human condition, what contributes to its extraordinariness is often a multifaceted arrangement of striking imagery, emotional depth, and imparted lessons. And that is certainly the case here. Seok-woo experienced a painful and enlightening arc of redemption, an arc carried out to a bittersweet end when he experienced an apotheosis of sorts, when he had to come to terms with the sum total of his mistakes in his final moment, and realize what was most important to him, the daughter he always failed until the zombies forced him to up his parental game. It's all the more tragic his epiphany came too late. The main lesson is a powerful one that extends way beyond Seok-woo to all parents, that their children are people, not commodities, possessions, or pawns, and they're individuals worth knowing, and to take them for granted is a great wrongdoing. There are more ways than one to be a deadbeat dad. All the money in the world won't change the damage caused by not being there when your child wants and needs you. There's no retconning the past, no photoshopping old memories to make rosier pictures. Either you're there or you aren't, and Seok-woo wasn't. For all his loftier ideas, positions obtained, and goals achieved, in the most important aspect of life he was a failure. Seok-woo knows what the right thing to do is, and fights to keep Suin safe. But where does he stand beyond common sense protection? On a trap door, due to being one lapse of judgment away from losing his daughter forever. That he ever set Suin down, allowing for them to get separated during a crisis, shows he isn't able to fully grasp the three-dimensionality of parenthood, of how it's all-encompassing, not paint by numbers, and can't be subcontracted out. Seok-woo learned too late a hopeful truth. In the hearts and minds of hopeful children, odds are you can never, no pun intended, go too off the rails with them that they're unwilling to allow for a chance at correcting course, and therefore salvation. They'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Many are far more affordable to lure back than you might think. It's not all about expensive gaming systems.
Well, I'm sincerely glad to hear that, for all our sakes.
Since attention and affection are the currency they truly desire, it's your time and care that needs to be anteed up. Although gaming systems do help, they help a kid fit in. Too meticulous for his own good, his own inner child long subdued and stowed in a closet. You just know that poor kid hadn't gotten a Twinkie in a long time. Seok-woo was in some way a dupe of the lie society perpetuates, that in the end money, wealth, and attainment are the be-all, end-all that allows a happy life to be purchased, that if you can't buy it with cold hard cash, thank goodness for credit. Swindled out of his most precious commodity, time, he fell into believing that the old axioms, money can't buy happiness, and money is the root of all evil, were a bunch of bupkis put forward by the weak seeking to smooth their failures. An exacting and methodical man, a paragon of the status quo of his high station, he learned you don't drink poison just because you were thirsty. It all makes him a willing victim of the flawed philosophy of financial success over all else. When he tells Suin she should always finish what she starts, he's justifying the course of his own life, rationalizing why he won't suspend the pursuit, save for small concessions. Larger alterations, the type that would actually effectuate positive change, might compromise his ambitions, like all those hampering regulations and safety protocols shrinking his bottom line. Only this being something within his control, he was perfectly willing to allow Suan and his family to be collateral damage, so his success could flourish. It seems obvious Na-young didn't expect her well-heeled ex-husband to seek custody. She likely figured when she left he'd abdicate all parenting duties to her, since that was the reasonable assumption, him being a self-centered dynamo more intent on exceeding his profit goals than knowing his daughter's favorite color. The joke was on Na-young. What this reveals is that before everything changed, the daughter he ignored was more a possession to be prized for one reason. She represented winning out over his ex-wife, if for no other reason than to preserve something of his image. Like his expensive car and apartment, his daughter was just another affectation of success, like a rich woman's purse dog, just another symbol of his prosperity, only not as easily replaceable as those things. I suspect he wasn't even angry that his wife left in a more personal way. What he hated was that she broke appearances, the chimera of a happy, healthy family he had fashioned to propel his business agenda by appearing like the model citizen. The problem is that a child is not a possession, but a growing person with emotional needs, and she won't fall in line simply because that's the easiest thing for her father, especially when she doubts his conviction to her, while having a mother who cherishes and wants her, who I'm guessing better understands that ultimately, the true value in memories isn't the glitz of money and status symbols, but the people with whom those things were shared. Unfortunately for Seok-woo, the social expectation impressed on him most was the need to become a proficient provider, so he threw himself into that over all else, maybe even the world, since decisions he made for the sake of the almighty dollar contributed to the complete destruction of his country, maybe even all of civilization. As communicable and motivated as the zombies are to spread the infection, it seems likely it would make it around the world faster than a lie. Seok-woo's mother is insight into from whence his philosophy derived, the lessons of his own upbringing. She condemned Na-young and Suwon's devotion to her, which reveals she believed in that perfect cultivated image over perfect reality too, and wished her granddaughter would knuckle under and accept that the intransigent one has no place in an orderly home with a quote-unquote strong man at the head. She upset the apple cart. She broke the image of a perfect nuclear family. In the end, it was all dumb quibbling because everyone suffered for Seok-woo's husbandly and fatherly failings. Suddenly thrust into a time of fast-coming hard decisions, and with no contingency plan in place, as I already pointed out, everyone's personal moral compasses come to the fore, and Seok-woo, through witnessing the measures of others, summoned maybe a better, more honorable part of himself. Class distinctions mean nothing when you're cast into the fire. Everyone crackles and burns the same, although someone as chubby as me would probably crackle more.
Yep, that stands up to scrutiny.
Survival situations do tend to separate the brave from the craven, and when it was abundantly clear cooperation was necessary, Seok-woo, a guy not at all suited to the circumstances he was thrown into like a log into a wood chipper, was courageous enough to have the wisdom to swallow his pride to make alliances. Despite being a guy used to calling the shots, in a pinch he was willing to defer to another, and unquestionably let Sang-hwa lead the way, pulling his weight without asserting any presumption of control. For a pair who didn't get off on the right foot, Seok-woo and Sang-hwa found a lot of respect for each other in a short time. Fighting for your life side by side with someone can do that. And tough guy Sang-hwa commiserated with Seok-woo's position as a father, letting him off the hook, as it were.
아빠들은 원래 맨날 욕먹고 인정 못 받고 그래도 뭐 희생하고 사는 거지 뭐, 그래?
And whether he's absolutely serious or only being kind,
이 딸이 좀 더 크면 네가 왜 그렇게 기를 쓰고 사는지 알게 되지 않겠냐?
he's in part right, and maybe demonstrate Seok-woo's biggest failing, the inability to manage his time, to not understand that if the wedge for his kid in that pie chart was only a sliver, that's not enough. If the wedge couldn't be expanded, maybe devise a Venn diagram and create more overlap. All that matters is children need their parents to be around and present. Seok-woo at least got what Sang-hwa never would, some time, if only fleeting, with his child. A chance to make an impression, to be loved and give love. So of the two men, Seok-woo isn't the greater tragedy, just the greater lesson. Seok-woo in a matter of seconds saw a paradigm shift that rendered the whole course of his life pointless, moot, and that his decisions had a hand in, or maybe more accurately a thumb up the butt of,
팀장님, 이거 유선 바이오에서 시작됐대요.
the zombie event, shines a dull yellow light on how decisions on the grander scale can have an effect even on those who called the shots and, for lack of a better word, fucked up.
우리가 작전 걸어서 억지로 살려낸 그 유선 바이오요.
But based on who he was to begin with, would he have even cared if he weren't specifically affected? At the beginning, he was the kind of unscrupulous rogue willing to sacrifice a lot to obtain what he wanted, yet by the end would have traded his every worldly possession for 5 more minutes with his daughter.
계속 같이 있어줄 거죠?
And I think that very much had to do with living the experience, living the ramifications of his slip-up.
이거 제 책임 아닌 거죠? 예?
For all his pretensions of achievement, he died on the exact same level as a bit of a bruiser, a terrified train conductor, and an even more terrified homeless man, all four sacrificing their lives for others, in some cases strangers. What differentiates Seok-woo, the wrinkle that sets him apart, was that he knew about his underlying guilt.
김대리, 그거 김대리 잘못 아니다.
His bubble really burst. Seeing people die horribly and transform into monstrosities before his eyes, while all too aware of his culpability, the weight of guilt had to pulverize him all the way to a cellular level. Such would weigh heavily on even the most tempered conscience. Since much like the Grinch's heart, Seok-woo's conscience grew 3 sizes, it would be fair to say for him all of it was an especially devastating realization. Were Seok-woo the father his daughter needed and the husband Na-young desired, consequently not pushing her away,
부부라는 게 그렇게 쉽게 갈라설 수 있는 게 아니다.
they never would have needed to be on the train to Busan that fateful day. It had to be no easy revelation that it was his fault for his familial failings, and no one else's. Resistant to stepping up as a father, what some might call manning up, until he had no choice. What's relevant is that when the time came, Seok-woo gave fully. It's not like he was a man without a spine. He just applied it wrong, living not as a lemming but a chaser of lemmings. Only when the shit hits the fan, everyone goes off the cliff. Side note in an already long video, but I cordially despise the whole lemming analogy because it's based on a lie born of animal cruelty, and that I never condone. In regard to acting in a principled way, Yeon-suk proved that mercy requires a measured and nuanced approach, because he stymied Seok-woo earlier, and in the end made a fool of him. A once merciless man in Seok-woo maybe gained too much compassion, since he not only spared a human piece of garbage, but showed him greater respect than he deserved, and was punished for being the bigger person. Which I can only surmise is a message to, in a disaster, deal with, the troublemakers accordingly.
Oh, Lord.
Leave it to Josh of Movie Timelines to hit on a really emotionally powerful, extraordinary exit. For reasons.
I'd take a bullet between the eyes for that man. I'd jump on a live grenade to save his life. I'd hammer a nail through my skull if he asked me to.
I offered to cover a kill of his choice in honor of his birthday.
Well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
He recently turned 107 years old, and to my delight he chose Seok-woo. Knowing this film, right off I was aware he hit a rich vein of pure gold, and all the nuggets I mined proves that.
What?
If you wonder how at such a ripe age he looks so good, my theory is a Dorian Gray painting, or some method using the occult. Little known fact, many of the films he's covering in his series The 30s Project, he actually saw during their initial theatrical runs. What with the youth-driven entertainment marketplace, he doesn't like to advertise it, but I find it remarkable a man over a century old can do so much.
Sorry to bother you.
Forget we were ever here.
Well, I've about reached the end of the rope, so I won't leave you dangling. Thanks for humoring my meanderings. Please share any refutations, opinions, accusations, japes, or other ideas in the comments below. And please join me for whatever I'm up to next time. Bye now!
Bye, creepy man! Keep it creepy!
He's a weird guy.
뭐야, 그 눈빛은? 말이 좀 멋있냐? 어?